right.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's good to meet you, man. And I really admired your dogs the first time I saw them when I first contacted you. So I'm really glad that you got a hold of me so we could do this.
I appreciate it. I'm kind of like as you can see, kind of like a low-tech guy. So it took me a while to check out your message. So.
Yeah. I hear you. I'm not big into the tech either. The older you get, the less advanced you become with that stuff.
But those videos were awesome. The ones you made with the intro videos. Those were awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting that.
Yeah. I'm glad you liked them. So just go ahead and introduce yourself and how you got started with the dog life and what breed you do and what spurred that passion on.
As I was saying, my name is Benjamin Labriel, married, father of 4 kids, and I'm Guatemalan. I was born in a place called Puerto Barrios on the east coast of Guatemala and near to Honduras and Belize, so it's kind of like a border town. And now I live near Guatemala City, and this is basically a summary of who I am. Well, and I love dogs. Just one thing that I really do love. I love dogs. I've had, ever since I have memory, I've had a dog. Except for, maybe when I went to Guatemala City to study, but otherwise I've had a dog at my house always. And so now we have some Guatemalan Dogos, or Dogo Guatemalteco, what they call them here. This is a new name. They used to be called the Guatemalan Bull Terriers, but they changed the name a few years ago to Dogo Guatemalteco or Guatemalan Dogo. And that's what we have now. We have we have 8 dogs right now, and that's pretty much it. That's me and dogs.
What spurred you to get the Guatemalan Dogo?
Good question. A few years ago, we decided with the kids that we wanted a dog, and so we started doing our research. Back in the day when I got a dog, it was just based on, a dog we liked. We looked at the dog and we liked it, and we're gonna get it. But this time I started doing research as my kids were a little bit younger, and so I wanted a dog that this time adapted to our needs as a family, and that we could take care of the dog properly. So we started doing research, and I had this thing for, there was this dog that I really liked, is the Brazilian Fila. And so I started doing my research on the Fila, and my kids were like, yeah, I don't know. And one of my kids, one of the 2 boys saw the Argentinian Dogo. And so we looked at it and we were like, he really was into that dog, and I wasn't so sure. So I recall that maybe 15 or 20 years ago, my next door neighbor had this dog, and so I went and I was into American. I had an American Pit Bull back then, so I saw her dog and look, what's this is I had never seen this dog before. She told me, look, it's a Guatemalan Dogo. And as a Guatemalan, we're like, really, a Guatemalan dog? Yeah, it's a Guatemalan Dogo. And so I saw the dog was gorgeous, really protective of their property. And I mean, so that was the first thing I recalled about the name. When my son said Argentinian Dogo, I told him, look, there is a Guatemalan Dogo. Maybe we should do our research and find out about it. So we started doing research, and then we ended up calling the association. I think I visited the association, the local dog club here in Guatemala City. So I just went there and they gave me information. They gave me the numbers of a couple of breeders, and that's where we started. So we're like, no, we're going to go into Guatemalan Dogo. So we got our first dog, and we were immediately connected. We were just excited about our dog, and so that's how it started. But we did our research, and then we decided to go with our local dog. That's pretty much gone into it. Yeah. So. I don't necessarily breed all the time, or don't consider myself a professional dog trainer either. Just love my dogs. That's what I do. I just love my dogs. But we got this first dog, and I just really didn't know much about it. And if you've done your research, you'll realize that there's not much information about these dogs. And I just noticed that it was a really smart dog. Our first dog, male dog, really smart dog, really loving dog. So so I decided, probably we could get a female, another female, and just eventually we could just have more dogs afterwards. Just get another female. So I started doing my research about dog breeding, and so I realized that it's not just to put two dogs together, but I just dove into this and just started doing my research, getting in touch with other breeders and finding other dogs. So I ended up with two more females, and then just went adding to my program, or just decided, maybe we could do something and just come up, just breed dogs and have more dogs and just have them and just love them. And that was the basic idea of this. But then as I started getting other dogs, I just started noticing different phenotypes. And so I started doing, probably could start thinking about having a line of these dogs. And immediately it struck me, we need to have a little bit more uniformity with the dogs and just, kind of like fix the look, because I saw different dogos, some were taller, some were heavier dogs, bullier dogs, and some were big bone, but really, how would I say, just muscle, just really, if I were to compare them with boxing, with the boxing weights, I would say you had really heavy dogs, heavyweight dogs, and then you had like midweight dogs. So I'm like, okay, so we have different dogs here. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna, in my naivete, I'm gonna like fix a line. It's not that simple. It's a lot of work. It takes time and patience, and really it gets to a point where you really need to know what you're doing. But that was my goal and the hobby, and so I just decided, I'm gonna get more dogs and just try to do that. Just breed, and we don't breed all the time, as I say, but that's our goal. Just try to fix or get the dog to a point where we can have something that we can, okay, this is our dog, this is the Dogo we have, this is our line, and that's our goal in this. That's why we're into this. And my family, of course, they have been really supportive. They just indulge with this craziness of mine. So it's here with me.
So what standard are you looking for? What do you think is the right standard for the Guatemalan Dogo?
That's a good question, because this breed, the Guatemalan Dogo, is a breed that is over 100 years old. It's a breed that just interestingly started as it's a breed that was formed naturally. It was formed naturally, and I'm guessing, Americans came over, British came over, and they brought their dogs with them. Dogs that weren't from here. So with time, there's a family called the Galusers and the Gerardis. They had they probably had they were the ones that had the white English Terrier or Bull Terrier, and they also had Dalmatians and the old type boxers. So from what I've heard, and this is not documented, but it's common knowledge among Guatemalan Dogo breeders, is that these dogs naturally formed, and these two families, the Girardis and the Galusers, had at one point, ending of last century, they had, or beginning of last century, they already had that dog. I mean, they did not document how they did it, but you had this white English Terrier, but different than the original white English Terrier. So they're also, I've known they have pictures of these dogs in the, in the bull rings, and that's where you found the dogs. So they were set good guardians and et cetera, et cetera. So it's an old breed, and with time, folks added different dogs, probably the modern boxers. I've heard, and I'll probably get beaten up if somebody watches this interview for saying this, but I know for a fact that they brought in at one point, maybe 8 generations ago, an American Bulldog.
Okay.
Just one American Bulldog, and mixed it with what they had, and so you had, and just one, and I think it was with 4 or 5 females, and I don't know what happened afterwards, but they stopped doing it. But then, it's a young breed that has been, finding its way. So you have really big dogs, and you have the older dogs. The pictures that I've seen of older dogs are really not so bully dogs. They really look more like a boxer mixed with a Dalmatian. And so they had that type of dog. So if you ask my opinion, at one point when I saw the first dog I had, it was really a short dog, kind of bullier dog. And at one point I said, this is really a nice dog. And really I've sent pictures to folks that know about dogs and know about that type of dogs, and they say, look, it looks like an American Bulldog before they started adding all this mass to these dogs. So people that know the history of that type of dog. So I'm like, wow, interesting. So at one point I was interested in having a big dog, a big bullier dog, but after having different lines of the dog, of the breed, I've kind of come to the idea, I kind of fell in love with a medium-sized dog, like a really athletic dog that can do everything, can do a lot of things. And so that's what I'm looking for. Not a big dog, not a small dog, but just a medium-type dog, because the standard says it's a medium-sized dog. And that's what we're trying to look at the standard and just follow it, and just, of course, that's what the standard is there for, and we're trying to look for a medium-sized dog. I'm not really interested in a huge dog, just a medium-sized dog, an athletic dog, a dog that can do anything you set him up for. So that's pretty much what we're looking for. And health-wise, when you mention it, I mean, the Dogos I'm sorry for vets around here, but we really do not have to visit. So they're really healthy dogs. And so I'm guessing it's because we haven't been eager to, just add certain things or exaggerations. So that's why the dog is still the way it is. And so that's what I like about the dog. And that, as I was telling you before, there were other breeds that I was interested in, just, for my family. But then I happened to come in contact with these other breeds and just saw health issues that were there and that come naturally with the dogs. And so I just noticed that our dogs just really, they don't get sick. I mean.
No veo, hombre. Aquí, ahorita vienen todos para acá. Ahí vienen, ¿ves? Pero no me vas a sacar a mí. Bueno.
Llévate la veo de ahí, hombre.
¿Para qué se dejó? Ahora ya se fregó. Entre, entre. Ahí está, mira.
Just when we got in touch, I was just excited. I just called these other breeders. Look, guys, I'm probably not the right guy to do this, but you know, there's going to be this interview, and they were all excited. It's in English, so you handle it. So, but I mean, there are a lot of breeders out there, or a few breeders out there that really want to do things the right way, and there's this new generation of us that are interested in promoting the breed and getting, because it is a nice dog. It is a great dog. I mean, it's not because I don't want to sound biased because I have that breed, but it is a great dog. I mean, it's a family dog. You can, it's just a dog that would love family, just want to be wherever the family is. And then you have the dog that will take care of property. It's not an over-aggressive dog. It's not a dog that has overly civil aggression, but they will take care of your property. And unfortunately, the animal aggression side, that's a little bit of a problem, because they will, I mean, it's a working dog, so they will, you have to be careful if you have over 2-3 dogs. You have to be, especially with same-sex dogs. I mean, I cannot have 2 males together, so I just have them, they're separated. Mm-hmm. And some females won't get along. Females tend to get along more, but some won't get along. And once they, you just have to be careful and just take those measures and be a responsible owner, and just know your dog. And if you have other animals, cats or smaller dogs, I would not recommend that. According to my experience, I would not have even if you raise them together. I've had my first dog. We had some rabbits, and the first year he was okay with them. All of a sudden, a year after, he just got interested in them, and he was waiting for the chance to get a hold of them, and so we had to take measures and separate them from him. So it has a high prey drive, dogs, high prey drive, but they're obedient. So I have had issues with my dogs in the sense that they'll listen to your voice. I mean, it's not that I've trained them to do so. I'm not a dog trainer, but they'll just listen to you. But if they get a chance to exercise what they were bred for, or exercise their nature, if that makes sense, I mean, they'll do it. I don't know if folks that use their dogs for hunting or but I'm sure that's just a fact. I'm sure that if you taught your dogs, took your dogs hunting, your dogos, they'll handle business. Whether is it how do you call it, a small game or big game, I'm sure they can. They have the weight, they have the agility, they have the strength to do so. I don't know of anyone that does it, but I know my dogs. I've been with them for a while, and I understand that that's something they can do. We would have to find that out. But I'm not a hunter, so not interested in doing so. But I'm sure that I know what I'm talking about. So they're strong dogs, and they have the energy to do so and the prey drive to do so. So, yeah. because once again, the breed isn't even known here in Guatemala.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but it is known, but in certain circles. What I mean by that is that you have breeders that have been with the dog for 30, 40 years. And I'm not one of them, but you have these breeders that just they've had their dogs for so long, and it's just them that have their dogs. And we're aware, and I understand now the local club, as it's a new breed, relatively new breed, they've been very careful, and this is something that I didn't realize before, but they have been very careful to keep the dog safe from getting into the wrong hands. Because it's a dog that we know for a fact that certain people, we do not agree on this, but certain people have bought their dogs. So back in the 80s, I've heard. I haven't heard about that recently, but you have people, because it's a dog that will excel at that. It's a dog that will do that. So the club has been, now I understand why they don't promote the breed that much, because they want to, make sure that the owners of these dogs are responsible owners, and owners that will not engage in that sort of activities, those activities. So they have been very careful about it. Having said that, I mean, there's a group of us, of new breeders, that are also interested in getting the dog known, because it's an awesome dog. I mean, it's a family dog. It's a dog that I cannot see restrictions for owning these dogs. I mean, space, they can adapt to a small space. They can adapt to big space. They're awesome with children, with family. They'll take care of property. And so it's a really nice dog. But so, as a group of us that are interested in getting the dog to be known. And having said that, I understand both sides. But you have folks that have owned dogs for many years. I just met a breeder a couple of months ago, and he owned the first champion that was showed when they start showing these dogs. So, these guys just love their dogs, and they're not interested in just overselling the dogs, because that doesn't happen here. I mean, it's not a dog that is a popular dog, especially in the city. The folks prefer smaller dogs, which is fine. I understand that. So it's other than space, is a dog that anyone can have. But you have breeders are really careful. They don't breed all the time, and that's what I've gotten to understand. We have to be very careful, and really now we're really picky about where dogs go, what kind of families will take in the dogs. Make sure that these families are just going to love the dog and just keep them safe and keep them protected, and that's something we worry about now. Yeah. So it's not sorry to go back, but as it's not a dog that folks have used to hunting, because hunting is not a big thing down here. Okay. And so it's not a dog that has been used for useful activities, or for activities such as what the Dogo Argentina was promoted for. That doesn't happen down here, but so that's why not many people that will work their dogs have heard about it. But it's a dog that can handle business, as I said before. Yeah. not so popular.
Yeah, and you know, for me, I really respect that they take efforts to curb the negative things like the dog fighting and any kind of illegal hunting or whatever. But I'm completely against that. But I also recognize a dog's lineage, you know what I mean? And I pay homage to it. So I look at, like, you know, our ancestry. I pay homage to my ancestors, even though I may not agree with everything that they did or agree with what happened to them or whatever. But, you know, I always assumed, just by looking at it and the little things that I've read, that was probably one of the main functions when it was first bred, was to use them for sport. You know what I mean? I could be wrong, but I just know the heritage is like with the English bringing their dogs over. They had a long line of pit dogs, you know what I mean? And I just assume that's probably where they got their start.
Definitely. And this is not a funny anecdote. It's just, I just walk my dogs without a leash, without a lead. I mean, I just take 4 or 5 dogs with me and just walk them every day. And it's interesting. Nearby where I live, there's a farm that they have some cows. It's funny how they look at the cows. They just start like, look at that. So you know that their ancestry, as you said, they were used for, definitely. They're the descendants, direct descendants, I would say this, from those dogs used for bull baiting and those sports. And we're not against the history. It's just, it is what it is, right? And so we're, as you said, and having said that, they really, the ancient breeders really took care into what kind of dogs they were breeding. And they, you know, managed to come up with these great dogs. I mean, that's what they are. I mean, they're just great dogs. And they don't do only that, they can do many things, many useful things and constructive things with these dogs. So that's why they're awesome. But they have that history in them. So that's really great. Yeah.
And they're recognized by the local Guatemalan Canine Association, correct?
Yes, sir. They're recognized since the standard was written in the 70s, early 1972 to be exact. And so there have been efforts to get the breed known outside of Guatemala. We know of dogs that have gone out of Guatemala, especially the States. We have, I don't have direct contact with them, but we know that some dogs have gone to the States, Costa Rica, and all over Central America. And there's been this effort to recognize the dog with the FCI, which is the Federación Sinologique Internacional, whatever it's said. It's French. So there have been efforts. The person that wrote the standard, I have to talk about him a little bit. He was a veterinarian, Dr. Arturo Chavez. He was the one that wrote the standard, along with other breeders. They wrote the standard, but this generation of breeders, they passed away recently. They've been passing away, and so they were the ones that were really into the dogs, really understood what kind of dog the Guatemalan Dogo was, and they were the ones that were promoting the dog. But unfortunately, their efforts have been, paused. I would say that paused for a while as they passed away, but they did a good job defining the standard and setting just setting the standards so the rest of us can stand on their shoulders, basically. So that's what's going on with this dog right now. They have been efforts also, I know for a fact, or a close relationship with the ABKC. So hopefully soon, the ABKC, I mean, they're aware of the dog right now, and hopefully, eventually, I mean, they will eventually come to recognize our breed. And but that's pretty much how it stands right now. Yeah. The good thing about sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say sorry. No, I'm not a huge American Bully fan, but I really like how the ABKC is kind of bringing in these different breeds and giving certain breeds a home where other organizations aren't. So, and it's a good start, because that it could be a good start for them being recognized in the FCI sometimes. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I don't show dogs. Probably once I took one of my dogs to show. I'm not a big on show, and but I think that's also very important. I mean, ABKC or FCI or AKC, whatever, they're good venues. I mean, we need to show our dogs, just see what's happening out there, just to understand a little bit more about the dogs. And so I think, for our breed is just, we have two goals. I mean, I'm going to speak for myself. I have two goals right now with Guatemalan Dogos is really just fix a little bit more the dog. Just get a consistent look. That was the word I was looking for before. Mm-hmm. Be a little bit more consistent. And then after, achieving consistency, that will take a while. I'm guessing whenever we get there, we'll get there. But we're looking for consistency, and also we're looking for that, just for people to know there's a Guatemalan Dogo, around there. And that is a great dog that families can have. And those are two goals: consistency, and then getting the dog recognized. But sometimes it's hard to promote a dog that is our dog is not scattered, but we need to fight for consistency. That's what we're talking about now with with these breeders. We get together and we talk about it, and we understand that the goal is consistency, and that's what we're seeking. With that, I'm not saying that there is a breed and the breed exists, and the dogs are breeding to a type, but we can also find a little bit more consistency in our breed. I'm just saying that. But other than that, those are two goals that we have in a short term, I would say. Yeah.
And could you talk about the written standards of the Guatemalan Kennel Club? What is the standards as far as the height, the weight, and all of that?
Yeah, the height for our dogs, the females are supposed to be. Let me just think. I'm trying to think in inches right now, just to adapt a little bit. A female is in centimeters. So let me check that a little bit. I have my notes here. I'm just gonna go straight to notes. So numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, I have it here in inches and centimeters. So height at the withers should be 21 to 24 inches for females. For males, and for females from 20 to 23 inches. That's height to the withers. So this is a medium-sized dog. And the weight should be males 88 pounds to 99 pounds, 100 pounds, 99 pounds. And females is from 77 pounds to 88 pounds. So, So that's pretty much the head. We don't have a size for the head, but these are the proportions that they're talking about. That the width the width is more important than the length. So the dog's head has to be wider than it is longer, or the muzzle as well. And the dog also, its body also has to be longer than is it taller. At least a 10% longer than is it taller. So that's basically it. If you talk about numbers, Those are the only numbers that appear in the standard. We don't have a head size. As I say, I've been noticing that the really old dogs from the 70s, were really lighter dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the 80s, you really had these heavy dogs, really bullier looking dogs. And then right now, to this date, I've seen just medium-sized dogs, but I've seen really light dogs, like big bone but light framed. I don't know if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was telling you, my focus is in taking note in the dogs that they have to be longer than they are taller. That's my focus. Mm-hmm. And really muscular dogs. That they have to be muscular dogs. And those, as I say, that's a summary of the standard. Here people still, the ears are supposed to fall down, but some people still crop ears and dog the tail. So it's really still a popular thing down here. I prefer not to. I just keep the dogs, keep them natural. That's how we like them. So other than that, the dog has to be also completely white in the body, can have markings on the from the neck above. And if the dog has markings, which is common in the white dogs, that they'll have markings, especially in the base of the tail or in certain parts of their body, it's not a fault, but it's a cosmetic fault. If you show a dog, it won't be appreciated. I have a dog with the mark at the base of her tail, and she's an awesome dog. But if you show your dog, that's going to be a fault. And so they'll prefer a dog with markings on the head, any color, but not under the neck. It's a cosmetic fault. And that's basically the standard. I don't know, I'm just summarizing so much information here, but
no, that's perfect. That's perfect. Is that what you want to work towards? Is that kind of standard with your program, or is there something else you're having?
I do not have the right to change a standard that I did not come up with. And so I've learned to come to terms with the dog. When I started with the dog, I was this dog could be heavier, could be bigger, it could look like X or Y or Z dog. But then I decided this is a dogo. This is what it is. So I just fell in love with the dog, as I said. So I'm looking breeding towards the standard. The only thing I would remove from the standard, as it is right now, is the markings, because I've read a little bit about genetics and how the markings in white dogs happen, and it's interesting. I mean, that it's part of what the dog is. I mean, those marks are not a fault or genetic fault. It's just that the way that gene behaves. So eventually, those markings will show up in the body. So I would not penalize that. I was just, that's how it is. That's how they're breeding, and it's not a fault. And so that would be the only thing that I would change from the standard. If you ask my humble opinion, I should not even have said that, because If it's there in the standard, I mean, these guys that put the standard together were sow technicians and veterinarians. For some reason, they put it there. And but my research has showed me that, I mean, that's not a problem. So having said that, I mean, I wouldn't change anything else. And also maybe a little bit the bite of the dog. I did not mention that before. And this is the thing with the dog. I've read the history of these dogs and prognatism. When what do you say in English? Undershot, underbite.
Underbite, yeah.
Underbite is present in our dogs, and so the standard says that the dogs can have scissor bite or underbite. They're both accepted. And as I was saying before, like if you show your dog, the scissor bite will be the one that is preferred. They prefer the scissor bite, and the undershot is frowned upon. But then again, I have a couple of dogs. 4 dogs that have scissor bite and 4 with an undershot, and they both have a good bite. I mean, I do not understand the problem of a scissor bite. If it's extreme, I understand that, but other than that, I mean, I think they're just, they're fine either or. I do not have a preference on that. But they will prefer, or breeders and people that show their dogs will prefer a scissor bite, and most people they will look for that. Personally, I don't have a problem with either or. It's not that I don't have standards, but I think they as long as they work perfectly, I mean they're healthy, that's fine by me. Yeah. These guys were veterinarians. I'm sure they knew what they were doing, and they wanted to add more bone, a little bit more head size to the dog. So it was really specific what they wanted to add to it. So, and they achieved that. And the way if you look at the old pedigrees, I have 1 or 2 of my dogs are 5th generation of that. When those breedings happen, and and you can see the pedigrees now that I'm learning a little bit about it. It's how they really line bred and they outcrossed, and they did what they were doing. So I don't know if, as I see the dog, considering our context, I have a little bit of space here where I live, so I can have a couple of dogs, but considering the context, a medium-sized dog that's pretty much what people will need around here. A big dog, has other issues with them, and so I would not add size to it. Would not make it small either, or more compact. I think the standard is pretty much gives you like weight wise, it gives you like with males 10-15 pounds to play with, or with females 10 pounds. So 10 pounds is a great difference. So if you want to lighter, you have 10 pounds, and it's still within the standard. So yeah. And temperament wise, I think it's a balanced dog. It's not. I just worry about other dogs. I just worry about just making sure that when I walk my dogs, there are no other animals around, and just be careful with that. And other than that, and the dog will react. If I call him back, they'll come back. They'll just okay, I'm not going to do that. But if something happens fast, if another animal was to appear around there and just another dog would attack my dog, they would defend themselves. So I really have to be careful with that. Otherwise, wise is like with people, folks. I mean, it's a dog that you look at it and you'll respect it, but then people realize, oh, they're not even paying attention to me and so they're like, oh, your dog bite, just let him be, and it's a dog that will have that effect on people. They'll respect it, but it's not a dog that you'll have issues with, except for those two females I told you about. I have to be careful when I take them out and walk them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise. Well, it's good that they'll protect you, and you got variety.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you didn't have that much time for exercise, it's a dog that can stay put. I mean, when they're younger, you'll get, this high energy. And of course they can be like any dog. This is not something specific to the Dogo. But if a dog is bored, he'll just handle business. Just find out ways to sustain himself. So, other than that, their requirements for exercise are like, I mean, you can get them used to anything. But I've seen, I have a couple of dogs that really need that time. They look at you like, what time are we going out? We need to go. This is our time. So they'll get that time. But not all of them really are interested in leaving the property. That's another thing that I found with years. I've noticed that not all dogs are keen to go outside. Like they're happy here, and so some dogs I have to force them out to walk. So I just so as they see all of them when the rest of the dogs are leaving, they're like, okay, I'm coming. So I have those dogs as well. So once they're out, they just have fun. But it's a really territorial dog, and so they appreciate their house. They appreciate being in their space assigned to them, and they're happy there. But I mean, most of my dogs will enjoy a good walk. I'll walk them like 3 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours in the morning, sometimes at night. But they really appreciate that. Really appreciate it. So other than that, space is not an issue, I would say. If they have space to run, they'll be happy. But and this is another thing. I do not keep my dogs. We have a couple of kennels, but we basically don't use them. I mean, we just let them be. That's how we have our dogs. We do not. I understand why that is done, but we just let them be. They're outside in the yard. Just come inside the house. They go outside the house. That's how we treat our dogs. So yeah, so they're really well behaved, generally speaking. Yeah, yes, sir. Okay. I've tried them. I use a flirt pole to, play with the dogs. and if you don't stop with the third pole, I mean, they can just go on. And so, you know, I mean, so you really have to like, okay, we're done, because they'll want to continue playing with the pole, and I'll do it for 25 minutes, 30 minutes, you know, just, you know, really at a high pace, and they'll just continue until they drop.
What kind of diet do you feed your dogs? What kind of food?
Oh, good question. We do it. We've done it twice. I've switched back and forth. Right now I'm doing a raw diet. That's what we try to do, and it's not an easy thing here. It's not I did not know anyone, or a few people probably. Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, a breeder that's sold me one of his female dogo. He's a butcher, so he does. I mean, he give the leftovers to his dogs. That's how he feeds them. So I read about, you know, all these about these diets, barf and prey model, and so I thought it was interesting, but it's not an easy thing to do down here. So, but I just recently, maybe 6 months ago, I switched back to raw diet. So we'll do that, and so we'll go to the butchers and just look, can you save this and this and that, and so they'll just do that, and so we'll do fish sometimes. We'll do our best to feed our dogs. But we use a raw diet. We've used kibble. We've done that before. It's easier, practical. And I must say this, I kind of, not lied, but I just kind of like didn't say exactly. I had problem with skin allergies.
Yeah.
With using certain kibble, and the kibble that I use, I found one that did not cause much allergies. I'm not blaming that. I shouldn't even say, okay. Yeah, but kibble, my experience with kibble has been I have to like really look for one that will not cause allergies, and I've had them. I've used like a wide range of dog food, and I've experienced that at least one of the dogs will present some sort of rashes or rashes. After I've used raw diet twice, and then all those rashes just disappear. And kind of say, it may seem that I'm not trying to, you know, just disregard dog food. I'm not doing that. I'm just talking based on my experience, and that's what I'll try to feed my dogs. So, but I've done both, and as a matter of fact, kibble will give a faster result if you want to see a weight result. You want to see, I mean, kibble will do that. So, with raw feeding is just I think it gives you a different result, but my dogs, they seem to be healthy, happier with what they eat now, and just a lot of energy, and so I like that. I like how they look. That's what we do down here. Yeah.
And you probably noticed a difference in their waist, right? People say that, you know, the feces is a lot easier to manage when it's a raw diet.
Oh, sir, yeah. If I'll miss a spot, you know, I just go pick it up whenever, you know, twice a day. And if I have to go out, I just couldn't take care of that. You just come 2 days after, or just come to realize 2 days after it's gone. It's just dust. So that's something I really appreciate. Yeah, changing that is just the smell is different. Yeah, you can barely smell it, and that's I would say that definitely that was something I really appreciate. I'm the one that, or some of the kids, when they have to pick it up, they're like, "Oh, Dad, come on." When with the kibble now, they're like, "Okay, whatever," and just scoop it up really smaller, and so I haven't had. In 6 months, I haven't had a diarrhea problem with my dogs.
Yeah.
I have not. problem with my dog. So I'm just happy with doing that. So
Yeah. No, I get it. Can you kind of talk about your morning and evening routines with your dogs? What do you do when you first get up, and what do you do when you put them down for the night?
For night, that's just basic routine. We don't have like much to do. One thing I read somewhere, I don't know exactly where, but I do have routines, but I'll kind of switch them up a little bit as they get used to. My work requires me to, travel sometimes. Sometimes I'm here all the time. Sometimes I'm really not here. So having routines is not ideal for dogs. But a regular routine would be like get up in the morning. I don't feed them breakfast early. Take them for a walk. So maybe an hour, over an hour maybe. Have a walk, just let them run around. Then we'll get back and we'll feed them breakfast, which could be from 7 a.m. or it could be at 9 to 10 a.m. So I'll almost never do the same feed at the same time. And then, or the walk, I'll switch to noon from here. So that's pretty much it. And then at night, I'll take another walk with them, another half an hour, 45 minutes. And then we'll feed the puppies, because the dogs, the big dogs will usually eat dogs will eat once a day. So we'll do it in the morning or mid-morning or at noon. The puppies will have another meal at night. So we'll do that. Sometimes with the adult dogs, we feed half of their meal in the morning, half of their meal at night. So we really don't have, even by days, we just make sure that they're well fed, and thank God we haven't had problems with having no routine, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's worked so far with us. I'm careful with the puppies. Puppies, when I've had puppies, we're really careful with them. We make sure they have food like 3 times a day. I tried with one litter. I tried just having food all the time there, but I did not like that system. So just having food there, sitting there, I just really don't like that. So I just pick it up. I like to train them. Or to get their attention. It's just best if they have to get the food from us. So I really prefer that, and just remove their food. But with puppies, we'll make sure that they're not hungry. We'll just feed them whenever they need, 3-4 times a day, and then we just go reducing, eventually till we get to 1 feeding a day. So that's how we do it. About showing, I've been really not reluctant. It's just I'm not used to doing that. Where I come from, we didn't have dog shows. I'm more attracted of, I don't know what's the word in English, just to have test the dogs, just to see how much I can run. I'm like weight pulling. I probably would be more interested in that. Just objective stuff that I can see. I understand that what goes on in conformation shows are important for the breeds of all breeds. It's just that for me, it's not so objective to me.
Right.
To me, I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm sure there's a science behind it, and all these judges know exactly what they're seeing in a dog, and I just can't see what they're seeing. So I have not been interested in showing dogs, but then again, with the breeders that we have a close relationship with them. You need to show your dogs. You cannot keep. That's part of what dog ownership is about. You need to show your dog. So we're thinking about doing that. And the next show is in February, so we're planning on attending. And so we're working with a he's gonna be 5 months, a 5 months old puppy right now, and we're just kind of like working with him right now. And as for breedings, we do have a lot of work to do yet, because we have, as I told you, basically all the lines, or at least 2 lines I'm missing, but all the lines that I've seen of the Dogo, I think they're in our yard. They're definitely in our yard. I mean, we have samples of all the different Dogos that not different. We have samples except for 2. So, having said that, we would like to really work on just what's the word I was using before? Standardizing, or kind of get that look. And so we have a breeding plan that, according to our estimation, is going to take 6 to 7 years. When we're definitely just going to have, if all goes well, we would like to think that in 6 or 7 years we're going to be done with, we're just going to have this fixed type. That's our goal. That's what we're working. And we have a couple of dogs that are already, we're going to get to a point where we won't need to be out, doing out crossing or anything like that in the meantime. When we get to a point, then we're going to bring in other dogs from different. But breeding is, as I'm saying, this is part of our plan, but honestly, it's hard. I get emotionally attached to the dogs. It's hard for me to see a dog. And I cannot keep all the dogs. So that part of breeding I don't like because it's the home for the dogs, and I just welt them, and you're there with them, and probably wrong. It's probably wrong, but that's how I feel about it. So it's really hard, really hard for me to breed dogs and then understand that you cannot keep them and that you need to find a good place for them. That's the part I find it hard. But now, as we're trying to promote the breed. We do not. I don't recall. We're just trying to promote the breed, and so people have come. Look, do you have a dog? And so it's not that. That's an easier task right now. Just finding a place for dogs. That's an easier task right now. But we've been talking with other breeders that look. We need to sit down and talk about where we're taking the breed, and so we're in that phase right now. And I understand it's not a one man's effort, and so what we're trying to do right now is just build a community of breeders, of people that love the dog, and that's another goal we have right now. Just find people that love the dog, just find people that are just willing to, be patient, and just that's what we're doing right now. That's where we're taking, or we aspire to take the dog right now. So that's it. That's pretty much it. But summarize showing in the short term. Yeah, there are great dogs out there. I've been to shows and there are great dogs out there, and not many people that have great dogs show their dogs. That's another thing. But there are great dogs out there. So I need, you need to go through that process as well, and I need to go through there. Just get the dogs judged and understand things from a judge's perspective. And look, you need to fix this or do that. So we need to hear that. I don't like to hear it sometimes, but we need to go through that process. So we're going there, and fix the standard, and then get the dog known a little bit more, and breed to a standard story, and then get the dog really let Guatemalans especially know that we have a great dog down here. Yeah. That's something we want to do. Yeah. And hopefully folks from other parts of the world will be interested at one point to know a little bit more about the breed, and just if somebody wants to take a dog outside of Guatemala, we would be more than happy. I mean, we're just excited just to think of that idea. So thank you, Mr. O'Brien. I really appreciate your time, your effort. Awesome what you're doing. And I would love to have other real experts, but there's one particularly that he does not speak English, so I would be glad to sit next to him and translate. If that makes sense, but that would be awesome.
That would be awesome. I think that if you could do that, and also bring, whatever you want to bring to the table again too. Anything that we left out, hit me up anytime.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
You've really been nice, a real gentleman. Thank you very much for doing this. And anytime you need anything from us as well, I mean, please let me know. And if you ever find somebody that are interested in the breed and just need to ship out, just let us know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I really appreciate your time and thank you for
no problem. I appreciate your time as well. And all right. Thank you. Thank you, Benjamin.
God bless you, sir. Bless you and your family.
You too.
Yes. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Bye. Bye.
Take care of yourself. Bye, sir.
Bye.